Hey, what's up? Welcome to FPS Coach. My name is Rambo Kim, and in this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how you can win more matches in your team games. All right, the first thing you want to do is you want to assess and kind of guess the skill level of your teammates. And the reason why you want to assess your teammates' skill level as soon as possible is then you know who you can rely upon and who may need some help. So for example, the better player knows how to play the position, what they're doing, they're not going to need as much support. Whereas the beginner player, maybe they need to be told how to play a position. Maybe you need to tell them, hey, go sit in that corner, I'm gonna get first contact and then you peek out. Or hey, you sit in this corner, as soon as you see anyone, let me know, I'll throw a flash or a grenade or whatever and I'll help you out. Or hey, let's do this crossfire, right? So they're gonna need that help. Obviously a beginner doesn't know what to do, they don't have all the answers. So that's where you need to step in as a good teammate and help coordinate and work with that player so you guys are all on the same page. All right, the next tip is to pay attention to your radar. Your radar is such great information for you on knowing the positions of your teammates, understanding spacing and timing, and generally, what gaps need to be filled. So for example, let's say on offensive side on Counter-Strike, as soon as a round starts, everyone's leaving the spawn zone, you see where all the players are going, right? So you see who has the C4 or the bomb, you see, generally how you're spreading the map. So say for example, you start the round and there's someone going left, middle, and right. Well, everyone's spread apart. Obviously it's a slow kind of spread the map default style where everyone's kind of just working the map. If you see everyone grouping up and going one way, say they're all going to the right side, well now we're committed, right? So there's kind of two ways to play that. You can be the person that goes to the other side of the map and throws a fake and maybe, gets one person to rotate, or you keep two people over there on the defensive side and create some space for the bulk of your team. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to help your teammates. So say if they're trying to go out hall or like a small entrance, well, throwing a pop flash for them will be super helpful, right? Because sometimes it's just hard getting out one choke point with a whole bunch of people. So throwing that flash will give that space for them to go out. All right, the next tip I want to really focus on, I mentioned this earlier, is using your microphone. I can't tell you how many matches and rounds I've won through my professional career and just with total strangers by simply speaking up and coordinating strategy and calling key pieces of information that I know will win the round, right? So the beauty of a team game is that everyone has an opportunity to kind of make an impact without getting frags, just by collecting information from the game. So if I go to one part of the map, I'm listening to the game sounds, I'm hearing how many people are in this area, I'm seeing what utility they used, and my teammates on the other side of the map, they don't have that information. So for those situations, you have to speak up. And I know you can be shy, right? Like speaking to total strangers, and there's a sense of shyness and maybe you're embarrassed to speak up, but think about it as practice. And I'm telling you, this is one of the most valuable skill sets you can have on any team game. The communication is what pro players are looking for. If you're really good at communicating information, coordinating with your teammates, and just being active with that communication and letting your teammates know what's going on, I promise you that's one of the most valuable, intangible skills that you can have. And what I mean by intangible is you don't get scores or points for communicating, but if you're really good at that skill, you are constantly contributing to the team. And I promise you, if you work on it in the pub game with strangers, you're gonna develop that skill set of being able to communicate and play at the same time. And that's going to be highly sought after at the pro level. All right, the next tip, and it is also related to communication, is that when you're playing games, I know there's times where you have toxic players on the team. So I want to take a moment to call out you toxic players out there. If you're one of those people that are negative, or maybe you're cocky or arrogant, maybe you're a very smart player in your experience and you know what you're supposed to do, but the way you speak to someone, the tonality and your message is going to be a huge reason in if you're going to win a match or not. So for example, if you lose the first round and your teammate baits you and you could have won the round if they followed up and traded you. If you immediately point out the mistake that player made, like, why didn't you trade me, John? Or John, you're terrible. You're way behind. You should have followed me up. A better way of saying that is like, John, next time you should have followed me up. Or John, next time I'm in the site, you should be closer. We could trade kills and we could have won that round. It's two different ways of saying the same thing. And one way will snowball into hurting your teammates' feelings and creating this bad vibe. And now, of course, that player's not going to trade you next time in the next round. But if you say it in a positive way or tell them why they should have followed you up, they're more likely to do it. Think about that. Next time you're saying something, think about your tonality, your delivery, your message. That's gonna set the tone and vibe for the whole team. And if you can work on that, I promise you'll win more matches. All right, the next tip is to look for the weaknesses in the gaps. If you see all your teammates going to one side, you could be that player that watches the flank and creates distraction and space for the other side. Another one might be you see a certain position that has to be filled, but no one wants to do it. Like there's some positions on some maps, it's called like the dirty positions. It's not very fun, but someone has to do it, right? Like maybe if being an anchor in a site, you're just left by yourself and you have to defend the site. It's typically one of those sites when you don't need two people. Pick up those dirty jobs. Anyone can play the nice positions, the ones that where you get more frags or are easy angles for you, but you're not really developing your skill set as much, right? Because it's easy. Whereas if you're on the difficult side, now you're under this working pressure, right? You're learning how to work in difficult spots, different angles, but not only that, you also learn the other perspective. So for example, you're the B anchor on the site, on defensive side, you know how to play against yourself. If you're on the offensive side, now you know how to play against that position. So you learn two different perspectives by playing those dirty jobs. All right, the next tip is, I'm huge on this, guys, so I'm not gonna get into it too much. I've got a lot of videos on it, but it's priming yourself or preparing yourself for a match. And this is like the biggest factor in how you're gonna perform, right? If you load up a game, you have no warm up, you have crap sleep, you're in a bad mood, you didn't eat, you don't have zero energy, you have zero shower, all the last things you want to do when you want to play at your best, right? So taking 30 minutes, 45 minutes before a match to get your mind, your body, your energy, your spirit, your mood, taking care of all the stuff you have to, so you're fully ready to play and perform when you need to. So some quick tips for you. When you wake up, try to get some sunlight in your eyes. So important for getting your energy and all your kind of brain juices and all the chemicals and stuff. If you can, get some exercise, your heartbeat up and running, take a shower in with the cold water, hydrate first thing in the morning, get your body and your posture and all the your joints and stuff stretched so you're ready to play. And you also want to develop a go-to warm-up routine, something that gets your hand and your aiming arm, your wrists and your fingers all warmed up, so when you move that mouse, you know exactly where the crosshair is moving. I've got a ton of videos on that, so I'll leave the playlist below. And the last tip is a shameless plug. If you want to master how to use a mouse, find your sensitivity and ultimate crosshair control, you can pick up my aiming course, the aiming formula, at fpscoach.com. Of course, please leave your questions below if you have any kind of FPS questions. Thanks for watching, and give this video a like if it helped.